What's up, everybody? Batjack JW here, coming to you. It's JW's radio, so you know what that means. It's Saturday morning. Anyway, hopefully you folks are having a nice relaxing Saturday morning, as it's the weekend, right? Hopefully most of you are being able to relax and take some time to slow down from the week. Sorry for those of you that gotta work on Saturday. Anyway, let's take a moment and talk about some stuff, and thanks for stopping in and thanks for tuning in on this video and checking it out. Man, we've been doing these for quite a little bit here now. The number on the count is getting up there on these things. I really enjoy these videos because it gives me a time to really on the channel slow down and talk to you folks in a sense more freely, rather than just being kind of embodied like, okay, this is the main focus of the video, where this is just kind of everything. We can just kind of ramble on about a lot of other things. And so anyway, let's get to it. So interesting news for the channel. For those of you that are tuning in, we got some really cool stuff coming up. I did a video where we're just kind of doing some final work on it and just looking it over, making sure that it's deemed good to put on this channel. Anyway, it's just kind of a collection of my John Wayne stuff. And for those of you that are new to the channel, most of you have been here for a while, so you know I'm a big John Wayne fan. And yeah, hence the Duke. Good friend of mine, she gave me this. And anyway, so I try to like insert small things in the channel, you know, to kind of just keep the Duke spirit going throughout the channel, hence the name of the channel. So anyway, I wanted to do a video and show kind of just, you know, the leather holster, the belt, all that kind of stuff that I have you know, accumulated really. And the belt that I you know, I mean, a lot of this stuff I didn't really know or pay attention to until I started really getting heavily into the guns and start buying, you know, the Duke, you know, the 6 guns and stuff like that. Obviously, you know, you notice that he has those yellow handled grips on his gun, and you know, for a long time that was just pretty much like, you know, you can't even do that, you know. So until I saw that Rooster Shooter by Cimarron posted in that American Rifleman magazine, that's when I knew. I was like, oh wow, I actually have a shot at this because somebody is offering this. Somebody had made it. That was really cool, you know. And I mean, despite all the negative reviews that gun may have gotten, all the you know, the oh, it's expensive, and it is expensive. It's not cheap. But you know, I think they knew that guys like me and, you know, everybody else that's into the John Wayne thing pretty much knew, like, you're gonna spend the money and get it, as I did. But it wasn't until then I started to really like focus in, like, okay, what kind of holster did he have and all that kind of stuff. And me being left-handed, it's really hard to find a good holster, or, you know, anything left-handed. You know, it's basically, you know, when you talk about holsters, you have everything like this, but then you start going to the left-handed section. I'm referring to like multiple websites that you can go to. The section just goes through, and you're like, oh, okay, there's not much there. Kind of like my Dirty Harry holster for my Model 29. It's got an 8 3/8 barrel on it, and I was trying to find a left-handed shoulder holster. That was not easy. There is a company that makes the supposed exact replica of his, but it's rather pricey. Maybe one day if I make a little more money, I'll pick up one. But anyway, back to it. As I started looking at everything, I started noticing that you know, all the little things on his rig, you know, his main belt rig, that, and I'm kind of referring to pretty much from, you know, the mid 1960s and on. You know, you start to notice something. The only time I noticed he wore something different as far as his cartridge belt goes was in El Dorado. It's kind of a darker leather belt that was different from his usual tan suede belt that he always wears. Anyway, so I was looking at it, and it's a tan suede belt with the leather loops and everything through it. The Hunter Leather Company out of Westminster, Colorado, made an exact copy of it, and that's pretty neat. And I used to live in Longmont, Colorado, so got on the phone with those guys, the really nice people, they started talking. We started talking about it, and they said, the easiest probably way to do it and cheaper for you. I mean, actually, that was really neat that they told me, like, hey, it'd be cheaper if you went through MidwayUSA.com and ordered it through them, because they get a better price break than what we can offer you. And I said, you know what? I told them I used to live in Colorado, and I'd rather support you directly. So if it's a few bucks extra, what the heck? And he just kind of took that as like, wow, that's, so they actually gave me a discount on the belt. And so I was really just, wow, okay, cool. So I ordered a belt from them. He helped me out with the size and everything, because I really didn't know anything about it. But I put together that rig, and I had it. The holster I got is right now is a Galco holster on it. So I want to eventually buy another rig from them with their version of the Duke style holster and another suede belt, just to have it. It's just something that, of course, hey, the Duke had probably a couple of them, but anyway, until then, money's a little strapped. So on the other note, more news for the channel. We haven't, I don't know, everything hasn't really, until things start really showing up, then I'll know. But a company called ThruNite, they make some flashlights and stuff. They contacted me, and usually when somebody contacts me about something like that, they're trying to push a product or something or whatever, I kind of just almost shy away from it a little bit, because I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know how much of this stuff is actually legit. I don't know how much of it is just bogus. Is it just a scam or whatever? So I try to stay away from that. I know some of you that maybe have had some of these messages saying, hey, we're with this blah network, and we'd like to help you expand and blah, and it's just like, I think I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing, because I have no, pressure to do a certain thing. I like to be able to turn this camera on and just do my thing. I don't need to, the people that support are here. They're finding it, and they're here, and they're staying, and so that's all I need. So when a lot of these kind of messages come in, I kind of, I don't know, what is that, So anyway, they seem like legit people. I went back and forth with a couple emails with them, and so I said, well, what the heck, I'll check it out, and look at it. I looked at their products. They showed me some links and everything. So I don't know. We'll see. Of course, I'm going to give you my honest opinion. I'm not going to lie or sugarcoat it, but they did want to see a review video and a torture test video. So I said, well, okay, cool. I've done a few torture tests, and, so I try to season up my torture tests a little bit different, and try to at least do something either really extreme or something like that. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. I don't know, but I'm sharing the news with you right here on JW's Radio, because, that's what this is kind of about too, for those of you that tune in. All right, getting into some other things. I wanted to kind of get into some knives, and this is, and I'm kind of a, you folks probably know, of course I'm a really old school in a sense. I guess I'm just old at heart, I just always, I grew up hanging out with my dad's friends, and so I guess the old guys rule kind of thing is kind of like my guidelines. I really, so I got a few knives. Mainly when I first bought my first real old guy knife, I guess you could say, but it's a good knife. It's not necessarily an old guy knife, but it's been around for a long time, and it is a buck knife, and it is the 110, and I've carried this for a long time, and I took it on many hunting trips, and in fact I even put my my name on there, Batjack JW. I even stamped it on there. Opens up like butter, and it is razor sharp. I had a friend of mine, he had one of those Wicked Edge sharpeners, and he put an edge on this thing, and it has remained that way. And still, I've cut a lot of stuff with it, and it still remained very sharp. A friend of mine I used to work with, we'll get into that a little bit as the video goes on here, but I used to work with him, He's a really dear friend of mine, you know, and so he said, you know, he knew I carried this, and he's really into knives too. So we wound up doing some trading, and he had this, and this used to be his, and now it's mine. This is the 112, I believe it is, and it's a little bit smaller. It looks just like the the 110, but it's a little brother, really. So that was really neat. You know, some people think this may be too big of a knife, really, and yeah, it kind of is. You know, when you read on the internet and you start seeing, well, you know, oh, it's only got a 3-inch, you know, blade or whatever. Actually, you know, this, I think this is like a 4.5, maybe so. But it's a fairly large knife. So this would give you a little bit, if you didn't want such a larger knife, and which is the perfect size for my hand, really. I like this one a lot. So it's kind of neat, you know, having these two. And these two will definitely go with me wherever it is the path takes me. So figured I'd show that. Leather cases. This one's actually more of a newer, as I didn't carry that one too much, as I carried this one more pretty much all the time, and it's very worn. So, and same friend, he one day he said, I got something for you, come on down. So I went there, and he had this Rough Rider knife. And when I opened it up, I did a video on this. Really neat, because the handles is kind of this aged yellow bone handle. Really neat. And you know what? And he touched it up, I think, too. He said he touched up the blade just to kind of get it a little sharper. Oh, what did he say? You know, I'm drawing a blank here. I dug this stuff out of the safe, so bear with me. You know probably what the model is, but anyway, yeah, kind of neat. It's kind of a large knife, but really cool the fact that, you know, it came from him, and that's you know, kind of what it means to me anyway. But 440 stainless, it says, and it is very sharp. This one just kind of stays in a box, and I keep it in a safe, as well as this other one from him, and I got a couple other ones. This is my Case Trapper that I got. You guys actually remember when I got this, I did a video on it. Obviously what attracted me to this was basically the yellow handles, because it was just like John Wayne, and I always thought about, man, it'd be neat to have an old style pocket knife with yellow handles. Well, lo and behold, Case does make one. There's other brands too. This kind of wound up being my everyday carry kind of thing, and I've done everything with it at work, cutting boxes, cutting all kinds of stuff. It's got your basic blade here. It's getting rather tarnished up now, so maybe you have to wipe it down again. And then you got the spay blade right here, which I don't cut anything really with it. I just keep it sharp for if that time needs, you have it. So really cool. And I actually sharpen it with the winnings from the Gun Enthusiast. He's probably going to say, oh, I owe him some money for saying his name. This is kind of a little joke we got going on. But I won his giveaway, and I had a sharpener from it, and I use it on that one. So, because believe it or not, I still don't know the exact skill of hand sharpening. I want to learn that someday. Maybe I'll meet somebody and you can just sit down and show me. My hands-on, you know, visual kind of guy. All right. The other thing was, speaking of kind of cool old school stuff, but I've always been a fan of the 1911. The 1911 is probably my favorite gun, semi-auto wise. That's not a revolver, and the cool factor on it, just the way it looks to me, and I'm talking about the old school GI style, the one that the soldiers carried you know, back in the wars, the two major wars and everything. So World War One, World War Two, and so forth. They pretty much remain the same. I've always been captivated by that look. I really like it. And when I set out to buy my first 1911, that's kind of what I wanted. I kind of want that old style look. And the things that happen, I guess, you know, with the 1911 world is the lines got crossed from it being developed because of war. It needed to be a battle pistol. Now guys make it, and now it's a you know, shoot competition pistol, you know, bullseye pistol, which is fine. Hey, you know, I like doing that too. But you get some of these guys that get those two lines crossed, and then they think that, well, all 1911s it should be a target gun, and there should be no such thing as something like, you know, the old school Warhorse gun. And what I'm kind of referring to that is when I started looking for mine, I said, you know, I want to buy a Colt, you know, and I want to buy like something old school, and basically I was told, you don't want to get that. That thing sucks, you know. You gotta get something else. You gotta get this souped up thing with all this extra gadgets on it and everything. And I said, well, you know, I don't want that. I want, you know, this is what I want. I want this, you know. Oh, I'm telling you, okay, whatever. That's gonna suck, you know. Go ahead. And you know, it was kind of like, wow, really? So as I went on with my you know, journey on trying to find it, I wound up finding it and everything. So I wanted to show you folks kind of some things, and we'll start with this one. How about that? This is a one that I searched for a long time. This is a reproduction holster, flap holster of the World War One style. It's got this part right here that flips up, and that's what clips to the belt. So I believe this is the World War One style, because it's got that part that hangs. And man, when you feel one of these, you're like, can you imagine running around with this thing on your hip? So here it is. Yeah, turn that down. And this is one of Colt's reproduction pistols. Colt had reintroduced the 1911. They made a limited run of these things, and this is a World War One replica, that's what they call it, and who better to do it than Colt? So it has a unique serial number, World War One, WW1 in it. So it's got the numbers and then that in the end. Model of 1911 U.S. Army. And it's got all the patent dates and everything, all the cool stampings, the rampant pony on the back here, and they even went as far as putting the United States property on the dust cover on the bottom. So kind of neat. And they got even the inspector stamp right there. So this is indeed a World War One look-alike. And so some of the features that have changed on World War One is the, well, of course, what they started with. This is kind of what they started with, you know, in a sense, you know, without getting down to technicality. But they did a really good job of recreating it. So you got the flat mainspring housing, which is smooth, and it's interesting. I've actually heard other people say, well, you know, they talk about it as it always had an arched mainspring housing. It did not. It started life as a flat mainspring housing that was smooth. Okay, that's what it started with. Got the lanyard loop, which is really neat. I always like that touch that they did. And the beaver tail is another big thing. This is a part that a lot of these companies get wrong, that are, you know, they produce something and they say, oh, this is like a World War One 1911. You know, some of the things they get wrong. First of all, World War One, they had this really wide checkered hammer and a really short stubby beaver tail. It's barely nothing there. And the thing about it is, it will give you hammer bite. So as you fire it, you'll get this, you know, the hammer is going to come back and kind of hit you in the webbing of your hand. Of course, during war, this is the last thing you're thinking about. But it's just small little details like that really I tend to notice and look at. And of course, the very itty bitty tiny sights. I got a few videos on this gun, so you can check it out and see what I mean. But the little U-notch sight in the back is literally, it's so tiny. It's like putting this lined up with the front blade sight is like trying to thread a needle. It really is. Of course, if you look at the, you know, the old pictures, I mean, they were pretty much just pointing this gun and shooting it. The ejection wall here is really high up against it, so it's not lowered and flared on the back here like you see some of the modern stuff. Cocking serrations are vertical and everything like that. You had a long trigger. It did start with a long trigger. A lot of people are doing that, putting the longer trigger on it and everything. So, but yeah, this is kind of neat. You know, this is really just, this is it, you know, and it's got the nice walnut checkered grips with the diamond pattern on it. So kind of neat. And I searched for this for a long time, and it wasn't until later that I found one. A friend of mine, he had a shop and he wound up getting one of these in, and from what I gathered, it was they're kind of rare, but they're out there. You can get them. You know, you just got to search long enough on Gunbroker and whatnot, and it's there. You can get them. So, but yeah, it was something that I really just kept looking for and could not find it. Man, I even called Colt directly a few times, and they were, you know, they basically said, oh, you know, I don't know, you know. They also have the 100th anniversary one. I call it the happy birthday gun. I'd like to get one, but maybe in the future. They, you know, of course. But anyway, it's just the roll marks on it are a little bit different. They got some different roll marks, anniversary marks on it. But other than that, it's the same gun. But I wanted the one that had the military style roll marks and everything, because that is something that I admired. And my grandpa served in World War II, and you know, so he was there and everything. I wish I would have been able to talk to him more about the war and everything like that, to get, because guys like that, they're not around anymore. You know, World War II vets and stuff. You know, it's just, they're just gone. They're disappearing, and you know, it was so different back then. I'm so fascinated with World War II because it is just so, what I mean by that is just the guns and everything like that. It was just so different. You know, you pick up an M1 Garand, you're just like, man, you just feel the weight on this thing. And you see, you know, pictures of these guys just kind of just, you know, doing their thing, wielding this gun, because that's what they had, you know. Interesting story is, you know, this just kind of goes to you, like, again, why I love the old stuff and admire it and try to gain, you know, as much knowledge on it as I can, you know, and read up on it. Because, like, I remember in the shop I had a Beretta, we had a Beretta M9 in there, a Beretta 92 FS, same thing. We were messing with it, and this guy comes in, and mind you, this is kind of like a little bit of an older guy, you know, not too, you know, older than I am. So he came in, and we showed it to him, or he looked at it, and he was like, and he had it, and he goes, man, he goes, I feel like I'm in World War II with this thing. And I looked at him, I said, do you know that's what they're using right now? That Beretta was in service from 86 till now. That's what they're using. I mean, it just showed you, like, and you get these guys that, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with this gun. I'm not trying to say I'm trashing that gun, but you get these guys that's like, it's a Glock or it's not. And that's it. You know, it's got to be a Glock. It's, you know, everything has got to be a Glock. You know, and they dismiss everything else as junk. You know, if it's not a Glock, if it's not a Polymer Wonder, it's junk. I don't want it. It's worthless. It doesn't work. You fire it, it flies apart, blah, blah. Well, let me tell you something, buddy boy. The 1911 has served the United States military for over 75 years, and it's still in duty in other things. And in fact, what I think they even got a new one, right? Colt did a new one for the Close Quarter Combat Battle Pistol or something like that. That brings us to this right here. Now this is the real deal. The holster's rather stuck and worn, but this is a 1911. It's got grease in there, but a little hard to hold on to the slide. This has got use, and this has got, you know, worn, but this is a legitimate World War II 1911. This thing served. It's there, and guess what? I can take this thing to the range right now and fire it. It still works. In fact, check out that video. I fired a World War I vintage 1911 for the anniversary of March 29th, and it shot 7 rounds downrange, 7 on target, right there, you know. So they still work, and they're still around. You can still go to shops and places and still buy it. You can still go on Gunbroker and buy these things. They are still here. you know. So it really, I just, and the history on them and stuff, so it kind of just, in the shop, it kind of gets under my skin a little bit when I get these people that just disrespect this kind of old stuff, and they just toss it out like, you know, it's garbage, you know. And it's like, man, you know, the way I look at it is, you know, I look at the people that during that time where that's what they had. That is, you know, this was new technology. Nobody had ever seen something like this. Always reminds me of that movie Big Jake with John Wayne. And he said, what's up with that funny gun you got on your hip there? And he pulls it out. He says, oh, this is a Bergman, you know. And he says, what? So he starts explaining to him. He says, yeah, the bullets go into a magazine that goes into the butt of the grip. And, you know, so, and he says, you know, so it just kind of shows you that whole, like, you know, just that a glimpse of like how that was, the turn of things when things started going, you know, differently. So these guys were, you know, good at it. You know, you look at Bob Munden, for instance, the late Bob Munden. He's one of my, you know, shooting heroes. And man, that guy could shoot, you know, I mean, one video he had like, what, 4 cowboy guns on him, you know, and he shot all those 4 guns, you know, and I think faster than what one of these new squirts with one of these, you know, fancy competition guns could ever even think about doing. So anyway, that's just kind of where I sit. You know, I really admire this stuff, and I respect it, and I respect the people that served, past, present, and future, you know, that serve. And this is, you know, especially like this, you know, where my grandpa would have carried one of these, you know, and stuff like that. So it's just, man, you know, it's something really special. It's something definitely, you know, to respect and admire. And that's what I do with this. It's mostly just a piece that I kind of take and I just say, you know, this is neat. You know, I respect it. I keep good care of it. And this is just like, wow, you know, to think about it and think about the people that had to have carried this during that time, you know, where our country, the United States of America here, you know, was in dire need. So really neat, you know, and it has the United States property on it and everything like that. So this thing helped defend our freedom, and that's really neat. So anyway, gonna cut off the yakking right now and just, you know, kind of top it off, and there you go. That is the JW's Radio. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully it wasn't too boring for you. Hopefully I didn't put you to sleep, if you even made it this far in the video. So anyway, like, share, and subscribe, fellas. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody watching it. And again, you know, I didn't mean any disrespect to the, you know, the modern technology. I respect that too. It is definitely a big step in advancement to the way things are now. So, but I'm just saying, you know, have a little bit more respect for older stuff, because it's been there a lot longer than you can imagine. So anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. Enjoy your weekend, and sign off there. Go enjoy your Saturday.